Put that coffee down.
Act as if.
You be ferocious. You be relentless.
Show me the money.
All right, welcome to the latest episode of the Out Fast podcast. My name is Greg Simpson. I am your host. To my right, I have my partner, Jeremy Cloder.
Whoop, whoop.
To the left, Jeremy Griffin.
What up, what up?
And our special guest in the house today, we're going to be talking about the Game of Loans champion, Luis Travieso.
What up?
Over at Mortgage.
The Florida
Mortgage
Mortgage
Plus.
King is in the house.
That's right.
Game of Loans in the house.
Talking Game of Thrones, mortgages, and how do you save thousands?
There you go. All right, Luis, so let's jump into what exactly you do.
Sure. Guys, it's honored to be here. Awesome opportunity. You guys rock. Big
Thank
fans
you,
of
man.
Outfast.
Much appreciated.
Work with them, work with their clients, but also I'm a client. So if you need some great real estate services or property management, call Greg and Jeremy. They rock. They kick ass. My name's Luis Travieso, and I am the CEO of Mortgage Plus. I go by the Florida Mortgage King. Have helped hundreds of people in the last year, 2 years, all over the state of Florida as clients, refinancing, home purchases. We do it all from A to Z. So really excited to be here today and talk mortgages, mortgage strategies, and the game of loans.
Awesome. How long have you been doing mortgages, man?
Off and on, probably about 15 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of changes have you seen then in the last on and off 15 years of what's going on and what's, the loans and mortgages and all that craziness that's happened? Because obviously we've had a crash, we've had an uptick in the economy. So what's going on?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is regulations, right? Back in the day when you watch the movies like The Big Short, that shit was crazy, but it was all true. When you watch The Big Short and you
One of the
see
best movies
Steve
ever.
Carell walk into the strip club and she's like, my mortgage broker said I can just refinance in a couple years. I cried laughing because it was the truth.
Very true.
I was not one of those guys, but it was the truth.
Sure.
It was also,
Yeah, okay.
I swear to God, I was a kid back then. I couldn't even imagine the stuff that was going on. By the way, the best part of that movie was when at the end, he meets with Steve Carell right before the crash, that one mortgage broker guy who was doing like 100 deals a month in Miami, drove 7 Series, and he's like, Warren Buffett. And the guy goes, who the F is Warren Buffett? That's when you should have known we were doomed.
Yeah.
We were screwed. But regulation's the big one, right? So back in the day, you didn't have to be transparent at all with clients. The onus was all on the broker and the client. I'm not a big regulation guy, but this is one industry that has to be regulated, and that's
Absolutely.
mortgages. This is the most important purchases a person will ever make. It's someone's home. It's their family. So the biggest difference back then now is, number one, is regulation. Dodd-Frank, everything's transparent. If you miscalculate something on a loan estimate, you are responsible to your client.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, for example, let's say she goes to buy a house, and I say, "Oh, your origination's $100, and it's really $2,000." That $1,100 comes out of me. So there has to be honesty and transparency now. I think that's the first takeaway. The second takeaway is everything has to be above board 3 days prior to your close.
Right.
That's the big one. Back in the day, people would slip in just dishonest,
Like poison
unethical.
pills?
Yeah, at the end. And it was like,
Wow.
if you don't want it, you don't close. I was just stunned at the unethical actions, but the disrespect, all that stuff.
Okay.
So that's the big one there. Everything, your final numbers 3 days before you close. So that's regulation. Second one, rates are lower now than they were back then.
Yeah.
Think about that. Rates right now are in the high 3s to the high 4s for any loan program in America that is QM.
Okay.
Think about that. This same time back at the peak in 06, rates were in the 6s to the 8s. So way lower than it was now. A lot have to do with the recession, but that's kind of where the current market landscape is. I think those are the two big takeaways from the industry.
What are your thoughts on the recent? Well, I thought that rates were going to continue to increase, and they seem to have dropped back down.
Yeah.
I think even lower than what I got.
Yep.
I don't
Same,
know what
lower
you
than
got.
me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts
Thanks
on
for
that?
that. No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm
Thanks for that.
I'm gonna tell you why. So there's been such pressure from the White House, vocally from Trump,
Yep.
telling the Fed, you got to lower that shit. You're killing housing. And what's the economic engine of our country? Housing. It's undeniable. Real estate is. When times are good, people are buying. People are spending on credit cards. People are buying new cars. People are buying flashy clothes. It's all tied to housing. So he was for what, about 6 months hitting it, calling out his Federal Reserve chairman, calling out the Fed, saying you're raising rates too high. And it all caught up in Q1 of 19. So rates right now are at an 18-month low.
Yep.
That's crazy to me. So Christmas, we were probably at a 6-year high at Christmas. And now we're at an 18-month low in this.
See, a lot of people say they can't raise them up to what they should be anyways because of the amount of debt we have. You know what I mean? You raise the rates too high, you just explode the whole entire economy because of the debt payments.
Yeah.
So you can't even allow it to fluctuate naturally anymore.
No.
Like, think about back in the 80s how high the freaking interest rates were.
Oh, 13,
right?
14, 15,
Yeah.
16%.
Like, if you tried to do that for a month,
You're
right
broke.
now,
Oh my
gosh.
the whole country's broke.
Could you imagine the house payment on a $200,000 house at 13%?
Right.
Just principal and interest.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it in my head.
Right.
It's probably close to $1,800 before taxes. Think about that.
Brutal.
Compared to what, a 4%? I mean, it's
Probably more than that, actually.
It's
you
actually
know?
more than that.
Probably-
Yeah, I'm doing the math in my head. Probably about above 2,000 just principal and
That's
interest.
that's without taxes.
Jeremy
insurance,
was reading
everything
the
else.
Creature of Jekyll Hyde.
Or
Right?
Creature of Jekyll Island.
Jekyll Island,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I was
trying to get through
yeah,
that.
yeah,
just about ready to-
I know that. I know that
So-
well.
It's like so thick.
Well,
like
it's the
400 or
Federal
500
Reserve
pages.
creation, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
when
yeah.
the
Wow, the history
smartest
stuff,
guys,
yeah.
the barons, your Rockefellers,
Yep.
your Max Warburgs, your J.P. Morgans, your Henry Flaglers, all got together and said, "I got the greatest freaking idea. We
Right.
can control the money supply. Who gives a shit who's in office? We
Right.
run it." And they do. People think the Federal Reserve is a public institution. I'm going on the record right now. Guys, why can't we audit the Federal Reserve? Because it's a private institution. The people who control the money supply in this nation are private,
But
not
it's called
public.
federal.
I have a theory on that.
Duped
I have
ya.
a theory on that. People are going to laugh at me and go, "Dude, you're nuts." No, I'm not. No, I'm not. If you look me up on LinkedIn, you'll see I'm not nuts at all. Pretty educated guy, patriot of this nation, worked in the intelligence world. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated because he did not want to do the Federal Reserve. He wasn't
Whoa,
assassinated.
conspiracy
He
theory
wasn't
drop.
assassinated. He wasn't assassinated.
Birdman
The
sign
Birdman.
coming out.
Put some respect on my name.
Yeah, I was gonna just ask you the
Yeah,
same.
dude, I'm sweating up here like
I
I'm
know.
outside in the fields, man. Come on. Dude.
We turn
in the
the
desert.
AC off to try to kill
I
the
am
background
Puerto
noise.
Rican,
It comes
but
out a
my
little
God.
cleaner without it. But,
It's okay.
you know.
But no, seriously, the Federal Reserve, it's a crazy story. When you start looking
Right.
at it, the only person that says it is Rand Paul. He's like,
Right.
audit the Fed.
Yeah.
And they're like, a neighbor beats his
Yeah.
ass
His old-
2 weeks
his old-
later, and now he's like, quiet again.
His old man is like the godfather of
He
all
is,
that
dude.
shit.
Oh,
you
he
know
is,
what I mean?
dude.
So,
Biggest libertarian ever exists,
Yeah.
Ron Paul.
listen, so we were going to call this episode Game of Loans.
Yeah.
Has a Game of Thrones tie-in.
Yeah.
What's up, man? What's your thoughts
Bro,
on that?
first, I get goosebumps talking about the last
I
episode.
can't
of The
wait
Great
for this.
Reveal. Like, I don't even believe in like, I don't believe in like medicine, like mental medicine, like anti-anxiety. I don't believe in it. But I was this close calling my doctor and getting 2 Zolofts and 2 Paxils.
Oh my
Because
God.
the shit is wild.
Not one, but two, huh?
Put her on, because she agrees. She agrees. I mean, think about this. You're talking about, you got 20,000 Northerner allied forces right outside Winterfell, okay? You got the Dothraki, the Unsullied, the Northern Houses going against the army of the dead. And literally, you have about, how many Dothraki is there? About 10,000?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Your audience knows, Greg. Your audience knows.
Aliens.
Oh,
Audience
you're killing
knows.
me.
And they charge.
I know they will.
They charge with such valor and were wiped out. And that's what the lights just.
Y'all need to start reading more books. That's all
No,
I gotta
they
say.
are books. This is based on books, dude. based on books. Do not hate on the Game of Thrones. Great. Oh, and then he raises them all from the dead. Shit's still going down. You got the midget about to cry. You got the dragons fighting. You got the crippled in the wheelchair that does nothing the entire episode. But it really was the Mecca and Medina of quality.
It certainly got a lot of hype, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was a lot of people posting that. The same with the Avengers thing. If you tell me anything about that episode, you're unfriended. Until
Yeah.
I say it. Basically is what people were saying. Like, our friendship is done if you leak it.
There was a guy in Hong Kong who was spoiling it. It was all over national news. He was spoiling it as people were coming in going, hey, X, Y, and Z died, because I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen
Right.
it. And one guy had enough, and several people just attacked and beat the living shit out of the poor guy. He was left in a bloody pulp, and then people were like, good.
Wow! That's competitive.
I mean, pretty wild.
Okay,
So how does this apply to real life?
Yeah, so exactly. Here's the challenge. Tie in Game of Thrones with your own personal game of loans.
Absolutely.
What were the similarities there?
Similarities. So instead of dying, you're losing thousands, right? If you don't have the right mortgage strategy, if you don't have a mortgage professional, mortgage broker that you trust, that can think outside the box, that ask you, what are your strategic goals when buying this house? It's not just getting an application and running numbers. You got to ask your clients, what do you really want to accomplish? Do you have, is your accomplishment and your effect that you're looking for the cash conservation? Right? That's a great question.
Right.
You want to buy with the least amount of money down. You want to keep your
Right.
pockets full of cash. Or is it, hey, I want to put as much money I have in the bank down. I want the lowest rate. I don't want to pay the bank 4x on finance charges. These are the conversations you got to have. So instead of
Right.
dying,
Right.
you're throwing away hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? I think that
Right.
makes sense. So that's how you tie it in, right? And I look to myself as Jon Snow in this
Right.
situation. I'm the
Okay.
brave one. I'm the one slaying cats left and right, all right? I'm slaying my competition, all right? Because there's a lot of posers out there. On a serious note, there is.
Posers.
I start looking around. I'm like, okay, what the hell have you done? What have you done? Where'd you go to freaking school? And they're like, oh, no, man, I worked at Wells Fargo for 6 months, and I'm an expert now. Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out of here.
So a
Garbage.
lot of our audience base is investor focused.
Yeah.
What are some of the products that are available right now for investors, and how can they take advantage of that to maybe expand their portfolio within the current market?
Great question, Jeremy. So a few options. So besides hard money, which I'll talk to in a second, there's a lot of non-QM, what we call non-qualified mortgage options. So for example, I have a 20% down stated income verified asset loan. Those are back, by the way.
Okay.
And they're only for investments. You're talking about a 7.5%, 8% rate. You're not paying any points. You're just paying 13.
What's the LTV?
80%. 80%. And you're not paying any points. You're really
Okay.
just paying $1,400, and it's a 7.5%, 8% 30-year fix. That's the difference.
fantastic.
That's a fantastic program.
Is that like to LLCs, corporations,
no,
trusts?
that's borrow only. See, this is the thing. It's hard to get the same quality of protection, right, when you put it under a company entity rather than coming after yourself.
I'll just quick claim it. No one tell
Yeah,
nobody.
you won't. You don't have to. You're right. So that's one program. I think that's the one that sticks out to me. There's another one called Smart Edge. Smart Edge is essentially the investors. Many investors have multiple properties. They use the cash flow as their income. So they don't even look at what they do during the day. They're looking at it strictly on that.
Okay.
That's about the same LTV, 80%, 85 in some cases. We have bank statement programs, so they have investors that are entrepreneurs. As you know, getting a loan to be an entrepreneur is a shit process. It is ridiculous. It needs to be revamped to modern times.
Why do you think my wife was the
Yes,
only
sir.
one that got on the mortgage?
Yes,
I
sir.
was not about to jump through all those freaking hoops, man.
No, you'd have been pissed. It
I know.
turns people off in many
Yeah.
ways. When I have to say, "Hey, I know you really made $300,000, but your tax returns say 38, and I have to go by 38," they're gonna go to hell, dude. I
Yeah.
mean, I make plenty of money. So that's that one. Then you have hard money. You guys have Edwin and his firm. I've met Edwin, cool cat. He has some really good terms, by the way. When you're talking about 90% LTV, finance up to 100% rehab, I would be like, I want to work with Edwin and send my clients that way. But there's other ones in the market. When you're talking hard money, the standard is what? 20, 25% down, 4 points. And it's a 2-year or 1-year note. So it's meant for the flips. It's not meant for the rent and holds. So those are kind of the programs that are out there right now. There are companies that will not ask any freaking questions, but I can tell you there's hard money guys out here that won't ask any questions for 15% or 10% like Edwin.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So what's going on with, we talk about the interest rates being lower. So are they also giving up for homeowners, traditional homeowners? Are they also giving up restrictions on credit scores and debt to income yet?
No, debt to income is still 50% for Fannie
Right.
and Freddie.
Okay.
Anything you can get DU or LP to accept for VA or FHA, they'll take. I get 56, 58, 59, 60% in some cases approved. But those are only for the government vehicles.
Okay.
Your conventional and your jumbo is always going to be at 50%. That's not budging. Credit score is still 620 for conventional. That does not budge. VA, FHA, I got a guy I just closed last week, 558 FHA. He had a bankruptcy 2 years ago. He hasn't been establishing credit that great, but we got it done. And it was actually a pretty decent rate, high 4s, for FHA.
Wow.
Think about that, dude. 558 credit score. You go conventional, you're denied every single day.
Yeah.
So you got to think outside the box.
Did they put more money down? Or?
Yeah, so instead of 3.5, he had to do 10.
Oh, wow.
But the deal
Okay.
got worked. It still
Okay.
worked. I mean, look, it's hard to find all your cake and ice cream. Sometimes there has to be sacrifices on both ends, right?
Sure. Oh, yeah, of course.
But yeah,
Do you mind telling what the loan amount was on that? Did he put 10% down?
240.
240. So he put 24K down.
Yep.
Terrible credit.
Yep.
So if you guys are an investor listening to that, there's a big, huge golden nugget coming from what he just said. So there are people out there with shitty credit.
Yep.
That have cash in the bank.
Yep.
So when this market crashes in a year or two, or I don't know,
5.
whatever, it doesn't matter. That's not the point. When that happens, banks are going to get tighter, but there are still going to be guys out there with terrible credit, with cash in the bank,
Yep.
to be able to do lease options with big, non-refundable option deposits down. So that is where Subject 2's long-term lease options come in. So if you want more information about that, make sure you send us an email at info@outfastrealty.com, and we teach all of our agents how to be creative when there's no loans going on in the marketplace. Because this was very big in 2009, 10, 11, and even into 12 when people couldn't qualify for mortgages anymore. But they had $50, $60, $100,000 in the bank but couldn't get a loan. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, very
Okay.
familiar with that.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna make all our money, guys. That's where when the market crashes. I missed the boat, unfortunately, when I got into the business a few years ago. 6-7 years ago, the market had already corrected itself and gone on the uptick. So I missed the big the deposit.
I got wiped out. I mean,
Yeah.
when the market, I'm just to share a personal story here. I got wiped out. I lost. I had about 4 properties. I had a flip I was doing. I probably lost cash, like real cash, 300,000 cash. My credit, 5 houses, 4 foreclosures. I had to rebuild back up. So I was one of those that believed the market would never go down. And unfortunately, I went for a huge flip and I had a bunch of properties which I should have sold probably early 06, right? Got right out of it.
Do you think the flip was the domino that made the other fall, or was what was your spread on your rental properties? Like, were you making enough cash on the rentals to sustain themselves?
Yeah.
Or?
The problem is that no, I was breaking even on the rentals because the rates were a little higher back then on investments. You're talking about 6.5%, 7%. You're talking about you have to go 20% down. So a lot of my money was tied in. The flip is the one I got murdered because I had probably 180 grand cash in that one to get it done. Which was stupid, right? You look at some of the folks, what they did. There was a lot of smart people that saw this coming. What did they do? They put lines of credit on their homes, maxed it out, took the cash, and said, sorry. They all over Tampa Bay. I knew attorneys that did that. I knew an attorney here in Tampa that had 12 houses, lines of credit on each, maxed it all out, and walked away with $3 million cash. And when they tried to get him for fraud, he goes, what? I own the houses. I didn't do anything with fraud. The market died. Sue me. And they couldn't touch him because it wasn't fraud.
Interesting.
Huh.
See, that's so crazy.
Interesting.
When I came down here, I transferred schools down to University of Tampa here, and I was still doing a lot of flipping houses for investors and things like that, right? And I'll never forget coming down here. And Rochester is usually, from upstate New York, Rochester is usually pretty secluded from bubbles and downfalls. It just stays even, right? It kind of stays semi-depressed all the time. And I came down here, and I'm working for these guys, and they're like, yeah, I just got this thing, blah, blah. 6 months ago it was this, and now it's that. And I'm like, and I remember asking this one guy, I go, what is the house doing differently now than it was doing 6 months ago to warrant this incredible value increase? And he just looked at me, he goes, I don't know, but I ain't arguing with it. And I go, holy shit, this is crazy, man. And nobody's asking anything, right? So that will forever be my lasting impression of what was going on at that period of time. But as far as the people that are coming to you, your customers and whatnot, one of the things that I'd like to ask people is, when people come to you, what is one of those mistakes that they're making, or they don't have ducks in a row or something, like things that you always see people doing where you're like, God, if I could have done A, B, or C, you know what I mean? Things would have turned out different for them or whatnot.
Yeah, great question. So the first thing I see is they're looking at houses with realtors without being pre-approved.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing that I get on people. It's like, you don't even know what you qualify for. You don't know how that student loan debt affects your DTI, which, by the way, is the biggest loan killer there is.
Dude, I know an architect that he's not licensed yet, but he probably makes a pretty good income. And he's like, I can only qualify for like $100,000 because of my huge student loan.
Yeah, because
like,
his
dude,
payment is amortized now,
brutal,
and
man.
it's not deferred anymore.
Right.
And if it's less than a deferment of a year, you have to count either 1% or the payment on the credit report. And some of those payments are huge, by the way.
Yeah.
We're talking like I know people that spend $1,200 a month. Remember, you can't bankrupt student loans. It's the biggest racket going. But that's the first one, right?
Man.
Not being pre-approved. You got to be pre-approved. If you're going to look at a house, you want to know what you qualify for. But also from a real estate agent perspective, right? You also don't want to waste your time working with someone who doesn't qualify. Or
How many times we get that shit drives us crazy. Like they want to, oh, I just want to see the house. Well, you're not getting to see this house unless you go talk to someone like you first.
Yeah,
And they're like,
exactly.
oh no, I don't want to talk.
Well, okay, unless you're buying
Go-
cash,
go to
yeah.
Some other sucker real estate agent out there.
And there are agents that will take them. They will
Yeah.
drive them all around town on a hope.
Yeah.
That's where I come in. I put the deals together. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm the back
Yeah.
end of it. If it's not financing, you're not getting paid either, right? So my goal is to be fair to all parties, client number one, but also the partner that I work with and the realtor. Even though I may not have a relationship with them, I want to be fair to all parties and be transparent on any issues that come up. So I think that's my ethical pledge, right? First to the client, but then second to the partner, to make sure everyone's above board, everyone sees the whole picture holistically, and we're able to get a deal done in a great experience in a quick time.
For sure. We try to educate our agents every time they come in board. It's like, or on board. It's like, you cannot work with these people. We won't even allow them to work with an unqualified buyer because it's just a waste of their time. And you know, the thing that agents sometimes don't understand with the people that will show them all these properties is that with that same amount of time that you're actually doing that, you could actually really be prospecting for the right
real clients.
the real clients that are actually going to put money in your pocket, especially for part-time agents that don't have all the time in the world to just go showing houses all day to unqualified buyers. Because they're part-time, they have a real job.
Yeah.
You have to maximize that time that you have on Saturday and Sunday and in the evenings to do
Yeah.
your job and to make money, or you're never going to get out of the rat race, which is your 9-to-5 job. So it drives us crazy, you know. But I think we've done a pretty good job of explaining that to our agents.
You guys do a good job of that. Just one more point. The other thing I see is these first-time home buyers relying on county and down payment assistance. Let me just touch base on that. Some agents like to push their clients that way. Honestly, if you're not a veteran, you don't deserve anything. That's 100%.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I've seen
Save your money.
Yeah.
Save your money. I tell clients this. I'm very honest with them about this. I feel strongly about this.
Are you saying that Uncle Sam isn't dependable sometimes?
I'm not a Bernie Sanders guy, so yes. But the point where I'm going with this is the down payment assistance programs. These agents will spend a lot of time on that. It takes you months to be on that list. You have to have a certain income cap. You have to meet a certain DTI. If you're married, your spouse has to go on there, and half the time you don't qualify because you make too much money.
What bothered me about that is I had an offer from someone on a townhouse that we're closing actually tomorrow.
Nice.
And they needed 60 days to close. What seller in this market is in their right
Never.
mind is going to wait 60
I
days
wouldn't.
to close? Not happening. And she was getting like 10K down or something like that. I'm
That's
like,
why.
Jeremy, you probably get that a
Oh.
lot.
She's waiting for that grant money
brutal.
to hit.
Yeah,
Terrible.
Well, they're just the city of Tampa or the county of Hillsborough, I don't know what it was. Just their process alone just takes forever because it's the government and they're super efficient at everything.
Horrible.
It's the same thing with the rental move-ins. I'm sure you get that a lot. You know, I've got an assistant thing, blah blah blah, an assistance package that for the move-in, and you know I should be ready in about 4 months. Okay, next.
Yeah, if you're not ready to lease in like the next 30 days, it's not even worth looking. But one thing I wanted to ask you too is, so what's something that's becoming more common is people wanting to do short-term rentals on their properties. Are you able to use a portion of that income to qualify on a mortgage for another property? So like you buy a standard rental property, you can use that rental income to maybe help you have more income for the next one. Short-term rental, does that play a factor? Do you need
Airbnb?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Do you need leases? Like,
Yeah.
is there any way around that? Or
So tax returns. It's got to be on the tax returns to use it, right? So Airbnb, I think Airbnb gives the corporation or the person a 1099 every year, right?
They do.
So with that being said, it's got to be on the tax return. It doesn't matter if it's 6 months on there. As long as it's on the tax return, you can use that income, whatever that is. That's the change since we last spoke. I remember we spoke like last year on this shit. And essentially what you'll see is if it's on the tax return, Fannie and Freddie have no issue counting that income for you. Government's a whole different ballgame. But Fannie and Freddie, conventional, they'll count the income for you.
Okay.
yeah,
You know how long, I wonder how
you
long
might
you
be,
need-
if you get that one up and running, like that, you might even be able to qualify for something else to get into for long-term.
Yeah,
rental,
I mean, it's
if you
definitely a
wanted to use that
difficult thing
income.
for sure because, there are, hard money lenders that will do seasoning of 6 months or so. and they'll get you into their 30-year program. But there's some hoops to jump through as well because you have to have a master lease agreement. That's the kind of workaround for them. So like we would hire Teal Door to sign a master lease agreement to guarantee us rent for X amount of dollars that would qualify for
What
that.
are those rabbit ears?
I thought he was about to transform into the Birdman.
I came up with a gang sign for Outfest. So
Oh,
it's an
no.
O and an F, right?
Oh, boy.
I want to get a picture of all of us doing
Backwards,
that at the end
backwards.
of this one, okay?
I thought we were going to do. I thought we were
Is
going
that
to do.
okay?
I thought we were going to do a moment of silence for Nipsey Hussle for Jeremy over here. I mean, poor guy.
Boy, he
lost
was
his-
mourning hard,
Dude,
wasn't
he
he?
was. You thought he was like back in the '60s
Yeah,
after
that
JFK
was
got
his-
shot or something.
yeah.
I mean, it was bad. I mean, he was on Facebook going, "I want to go to LA." He probably asked Gloria, "Hey, we need to take a trip right now and be in
memorial.
that procession.
Let's go to the
We need be
vigil."
in that procession right now."
If I saw that procession and saw you in the middle of
But,
it, I don't
by
know
the way,
what
there
I'd
was
do.
gunfire at that procession. I'm making fun of it. I would not have gone. You're talking about a rough part of LA. I'm probably gonna stay away from it.
No plans going there. So what are some of your plans over the next year or two for Mortgage Plus in and of itself? Your team's growing. What are some of your vision for the company and things that you guys have going on?
Yeah, I think the first one is continue to provide incredible value to our clients. I think no lender fees. We're open 7 days a week. We have access to all of our loan officers. So you service. No lender fees. On average, you're saving about $1,200 on every transaction. That's very helpful. I really want to break into the Miami, Orlando markets. They're on fire right now, and those are big price tags for us.
Yeah.
It's hard to find good talent you can trust in those things. So those would be branch managers.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So if anyone's listening out there that's in those areas that really want to talk,
Awesome.
very competitive packages I offer, ownership, things like that, talk to me. Hit me up, please, because I'm always looking for strong folks in Miami and Orlando. I think those three things really
So
where it's at.
finding talent is your
Tough.
hardest
So
challenge
tough.
with that?
Yeah, I mean, because what I think people are in two schools of camp. You're either a hunter or you're a gatherer. The gatherers work for the banks. They get these streamlined things every day, right? They
Right.
work for the Chases and the Wells Fargos, things like that. You're hunters. People like me that own your own brokerages, that work for Guarantee Rate, that
Right.
those other companies out there, those other big brokerages that are out there, they're hunting. And they're not getting a salary.
Right.
There's your difference. You want to talk about someone that's
Right.
hungry? When
Yeah.
there's no salary at the end of the day.
Ooh, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I mean, so you know it. You
Aren't
guys
we
know
all?
it, aren't we all,
I
right?
got
So-
18 years of that, bro.
yeah,
I
dude.
can hunt, okay?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Either you're a hunter or you're a gatherer. So that's what I mean by that, right? It's hard to find that. And honest,
Organizing the
talent.
prey after I've got it is really where I struggle. I don't have a problem out hunting and gathering things. Organizing it afterwards. So talk a little bit about that with some of the struggles you have with just keeping things organized. The business end of
Yeah.
things and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Well, the military background probably helps. With that,
Military
so.
background also helps, and then also my corporate executive experience helps too. I've run large global teams for a Fortune 20 brand here. So when you put that in perspective, when you're
Right.
working on a small business like Mortgage Plus, even though we do a lot of volume, it's easy. It's not hard.
Gotcha.
So I think the first thing is understanding what your pipeline is and getting sales into delivery, what you're talking about, right? Your
Gotcha.
hunting is your sales.
Yep.
And then what do you do after that? What's going on with the prey?
Yes.
How do you cook it? How do you skin
Right.
it, right? The delivery part is all about having an efficient process in place. Staying on top of your deals. I know all the deals that come through our firm at the single day. I ask my guys what's going on with them on a weekly huddle. So
Right.
my pulse, I'm always have my hand on the pulse. That's point one.
Gotcha.
I think for the sales into delivery, you got to have a good CRM. You got to have something like that. You got to have a good funnel. You got to know what your pipeline looks like. I mean, for any of us in the sales world, that's key.
Right.
And you don't need to buy a Salesforce type of expensive piece of software. There's open source software out there that can help you as a small business
That is
owner.
definitely the thing that a lot of us struggle with is that you're out, you're killing the sales game.
Yep.
Then you get some sales. Now you're servicing the sales. But that pipeline, it took, a month, 2 months in order to get those sales
Mm-hmm.
there. Now you're worried about this over here operating. Nobody's filling that pipeline
Yeah,
up.
yeah,
So you
conducting
get
versus
those
composing.
operated,
That's what you're referencing,
you know what I
conducting
mean?
versus composing.
Right.
When you first start in this game, and you guys will relate to this, I think you will too, is that you are, every single day, you're composing. You're writing and you're conducting.
Yes.
As a true CEO, you want to be at the conducting level. You
Right.
want to be orchestrating, right? You want to get everyone marching in the same direction, right? Jack Welch said this, the former CEO of GE, in the same direction. That is your job day in and day out.
Right.
Unfortunately, with a small business, if you like those profit margins like I do,
Right.
right? You like those, you like that big bank account at the end of the
Right.
day, you can't hire a whole staff because
Right.
then all your profit's gone into
Right.
the staff.
Right.
So you try to
It's a juggling act.
It's a juggling act, dude. It really is.
It really is.
But at the end of the day, the way the true tell is, are you organized? Are your clients happy with the experience?
Right.
Did you save them money? In any business, those two things. How was the experience? If they're happy,
Yeah.
you should be happy. I honestly believe that, right? And it's better to under-promise and over-deliver. When I did these guys' loans, I told them, I said, hey, this is what the next 96 hours looks like. This is what we're doing. We'll touch base at this time. I mean, it's all laid out in front of them,
like that.
so they're not in the dark.
Right.
Clients hate being in the dark,
They
especially
really
on a
do.
mortgage. Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
You know what's going on, but
You-
they
yeah,
don't.
no,
You're
they're
like,
like-
no, I know
they're
what's
like,
going on.
hey,
It's going how
yeah.
it's supposed to.
Yeah.
They just all they know is I haven't heard from them in 3 days and I'm freaking
yeah,
out.
They do.
Yeah.
No, they absolutely do.
For sure.
They'll freak out. I've only had in the 3 years we've had 4 years now, Mortgage Plus. I don't think we've never got an official complaint like someone says I was not happy with the experience. Never has happened. There was a time that one of my LOs went on vacation and didn't tell the client, so I got a call. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I mean, I just ate it. That's what you do sometimes. You accept
Right, yeah.
responsibility and accountability. But I told him, I said, you can't do that again, man. Just tell them you're on vacation, and they
Right.
can reach out to me, and we can give them the updates. It's that simple. Little things like that really will
Setting
jade somebody's
expectations.
viewpoint. Set the expectation,
Yep.
always.
Kind of a
Yeah, no,
reoccurring
good
theme
stuff.
around these places.
I'm telling you, man. It's tough, though. You know, it really is. And that's the thing that everybody kind of forgets. It's like everybody's good at the task, right? Anybody can install doors. Not anybody, but some people are really good at installing doors. Running a door installing business
It's not
Different
the
all-
same.
different story.
Different ballgame.
You know what I mean? So, and we talk about this all the time. It's a constant process. You're constantly changing it, improving it. It's dynamic. You're never going to have it all laid out and cool. That's done. I don't have to worry about that for the rest of the year. And it doesn't stop. You know, especially in like 24/7.
Not everyone's an entrepreneur. That's
No,
the
that's
difference.
true.
Right.
Not everyone's made for this game.
Yeah.
Some
Boy.
people are better working for others and can excel.
This reminds me of the Greg seg from last week that I went off on my little mini rant.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
the truth, though.
Yeah.
Not everyone's cut out for all this stuff.
It's a skill set.
It is a
know?
skill set, and you got to be able to sacrifice.
Yeah.
There are times where I want to be on the couch hanging out with my kids, but I have to
Boom.
go be at a closing, or I got to go be networking with some agents to try to drum up some business to grow a partnership.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
the sacrifice. I hear entrepreneurs all the time, yeah, I don't feel like doing that. Well, that's why it's taking you 18 months to get your business operational, because
Right.
all you want to do is plan and plan and plan. That's the biggest mistake
Yeah.
people make.
Oh, yeah.
Put some shit on paper. If you know how to do it, start something and improvise as you go.
Right.
Who says that? Your boy 10X, what's his name?
Oh,
Grant
Grant
Cardone.
Cardone, yeah.
Gary V. All these guys say that.
Figure it out later.
Damon John, Mark
Yep.
Cuban. If you have a product that is good, if you have a service that you're doing better than someone else, if you're in cost leadership, right,
Right.
where you're the cheapest, go to market with it, damn it, and,
Right.
and work with it.
Right.
I think one of the biggest things, too, is that we've kind of been talking about this a lot is, you know, we all have a vision for what we want, right?
Yep.
We have a mission. We all want to do it. But we don't always know how to get there. But some people
Very
get
true.
stuck in their own way, and this is how I want it to go, and we're not flexible.
Right.
And so we're changing up our brokerage model in the next 30 days or so to be more flexible with moving with where the market's going. And so, you know, I think that as a business owner and a CEO and all stuff, you have to look at market changes, market shifts.
Absolutely.
And be able to ride that shift and be flexible, because if not, you're going to be left in the Stone Ages. And the person that reminded me of that as an agent we're actually recruiting, and hopefully he's going to come on board here soon, was like, do you think Keller Williams got their model right the first time? He's like, no. They've changed their model dozens of times in the 30 years that they've been around. And because the market always is moving. So it was like a light bulb thing for me too, because we were kind of stuck at, we're going to make so much this, and we're going to do this with this, and it's just not all coming together yet. So I just think that's a huge miss by a lot of entrepreneurs.
What you're referencing is vision, strategy, road mapping, having that agility to move and move the pieces on the board as needed, right?
Right. It's chess.
Your company vision remains the same. It's the
Correct.
strategy and the roadmap that changes. That's the
There you
takeaway.
Yes.
And you guys change your model is there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I mean, if I see if there's new regulation, or if we have a movement in the mortgage business that I have to change the way I compensate my LOs, I'll do it in a heartbeat, because you just have to be agile, and you want first mover advantage.
I mean, look at McDonald's. The same thing. It's the same model. Now they've got, you know, healthier stuff on their
Yep.
menu, because that's the way everybody's going right
Yep.
now. So you have to be able to adapt to the marketplace. So Louis, thanks for coming on the show, man. How's everybody get a hold of you guys if they want to go get a mortgage with you?
Yeah, man, absolutely, man. I'll be honored, always available to take anyone's calls. You can reach out to me personally on my cell, 813-541-5067. You can text me, call me. I'm always available. You can email me at my first name dot last name, which is Louis.Travieso. Hopefully, Jeremy will put this up in
It'll all be in the show notes for sure.
At mortgageplusinc.com, or you can go on our website, www.mortgageplusinc.com.
You can even tweet, tag them at Game of Loans.
Game of Loans, baby.
Awesome,
The
man.
Mortgage King.
Absolutely. Thanks, Liz, for coming in, dude. I really
Appreciate
appreciate
it,
it,
guys.
guys.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.